ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve, and I'm the host of this here program. And the name of the program is
The Stuff
That Screams Are Made Of. The Stuff That Screams. And this is...
My name is Mark Duvall, and I am a horror movie enthusiast that works at the Avon Public Library.
Enthusiasm. Now that's what we're talking about. So today we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I feel like I have to remind myself to say, if we didn't say it, there's definitely going to be spoilers. Whenever we talk about this stuff on the show, sorry, but we're going to talk about it from start to beginning to what made it happen to stuff like that. So just so you know, we're going to be talking about Texas, we're going to be talking about chainsaws, and we're going to be talking about, I don't think we really have to talk about massacres. Have you ever been to Texas, Mark?
I have.
Tell me about it.
I went to Austin, Texas around 2001 to visit a friend, and that was the only time I ever went.
Neat. Austin, Texas, God's country. Have you ever used a chainsaw, Mark?
I actually don't believe I have used a chainsaw in my life.
Oh, you're missing out. That was one of the things where I thought about this movie in particular. I did have, a hand-me-down gas-powered chainsaw.
Right.
That failed frequently.
Right.
So I traded it in for an electric one. And it was a bottom-of-the-line electric one, so it didn't fail as frequently, but the fact that it was, less than $50 meant that maybe it wasn't the best choices, but it's probably a little bit more reliable. This was a very reliable chainsaw.
Good.
In the movie, it seemed very reliable.
It's important to have a reliable chainsaw in
Just
a movie
one quick pull.
Because they used a real chainsaw and did not gimmick it in any way. So they had to be very careful that they didn't actually hurt anybody.
Unbelievable.
Filming this movie.
Please tell me a lot of the scenes they took the chain off of the chainsaw.
I don't believe they did.
Come on.
So if we want to talk about a specific scene with a chainsaw,
sure.
There's a scene where one of the teen boys, or I think it was Kirk, he's lying down after getting knocked out.
Yeah.
And they take the chainsaw, and you don't see it going into his body or anything like that, but it goes really close to him, and then you see him it looks like he's digging into him. They got within 34 inches of his face with a running chainsaw and told him to be as still as possible.
That is terrifying. Yeah. Now that is the stuff that screams are made of.
Right. They did not. They did not use movie magic in that respect.
All right. We just dove right in. Let's talk about what year this came out. Let's talk about some of the budget. Let's talk about the director. Let's talk about the plot. So please take it away.
The year is 1974.
1974. And again, all right, this film it's like so gritty. It's like, again, when we're watching some of these movies that we've already discussed on this program, you think about how sometimes they're tiptoeing and they're, they don't want to be too graphic or too awful. And it's like, this just feels like, I can imagine what you're going to tell me later, the backlash that came for this film. You know what I mean? This is a rough movie. I liked it. It's crazy. It's so dark, despite the fact that I wrote down, I like that a lot of the scary stuff happens even during the day.
Yes.
So, okay, yes. So 1974.
Yeah, I mean, it's right after the Watergate crisis. This is the oil crisis. The Vietnam War is still going on. This is a very pessimistic time in American history.
Yeah.
There's a general feeling that America is losing itself. And this is one of those movies that sort of shows that. Directed by Tobe Hooper. He was a student at the University of Texas, and most of the cast and crew that he worked with were just people that he knew from his time at Texas. So this isn't a very professional, big-budget movie.
You can kind
of
feel
that. Tobe Hooper created, and Kim Henkel, the writer, created their own movie studio for this.
They created, okay.
Yes, they just made their own studio. Their budget was about $100,000.
Wow, okay.
And that was with a lot of help from other people along the way. They had to keep giving up percentages of the total profit to get more money. So they actually jumping ahead a little bit, they didn't really start making much of a profit on the movie until New Line Cinema bought the rights to it in the 80s.
Oh.
So, and then it became a huge, cult film.
Mm-hmm.
But filmed in Texas, on location, Round Rock, Texas. 16 hours a day filming, 110 degrees.
It's gonna say it felt hot. Like even just watching it, it felt like a hot movie. And this seems like something too where you're like, I'm sure part of it was like whatever, the location scouting. Sometimes when it's like you're like lucky enough to find a place, and like I can't imagine like, this is probably like literally somebody's house, or you know what I mean?
It was
like,
an old abandoned early 1900s farmhouse, and
Cool.
That's the house. So 16 hours a day, 110 degrees. The man who played Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen, he was afraid to actually take off his costume and mask because he thought that the laundry would ruin it. So he wore it almost the entire time and never took it off.
No.
He thought the laundry would like change the color or shrink it, or it's just because this is not a hugely professional thing.
I was gonna say too, and the fact that you just said that and you talked about the heat, like this felt like a movie that you could almost smell through the screen at times too. Like it's like
I bet
it's
he could smell Gunnar. I bet they smelled Gunnar Hansen. 6'4" Gunnar Hansen wore it almost every day for a month, all day, every day for a month, never taking it off.
I was gonna say too, I always appreciated that Leatherface never doesn't matter what he's doing. He's always got a tie on, and maybe it's not cinched up nice, but it's like, no matter what he's doing. Even there was a time later on when, the next day after the dinner scene, or the breakfast scene or whatever it was, he's got a different outfit on, but he's got a tie on, so
he has some sort of strange obsession with his appearance. That's to be sure, based on the fact that he wears someone else's face for a mask, and changes into various outfits. The concept for the film is yet another film that was sort of based on the murderer Ed Gein. You can go Norman Bates, Leatherface, Silence of the Lambs. You can go a bunch of different movies that had some sort of connection and inspiration to Ed Gein. Obviously, we don't have to go into his crimes, but Hooper was one of those people that he would watch the news and he saw that it was just, if it bleeds, it leads. So
and you can even feel that in this, where even just the radio's playing.
The radio at the beginning of the movie is just playing bad story after bad story.
And then even later on, there's a lot of like, it's just like, here's what else is going on in the world.
This man was shot here. This person was arrested. This person did this. So he took a very cynical view of the news at the time, and he just decided, I'm going to make a movie that unapologetically shows graphic violence, and
which for sure,
because that's what the news was doing at the time. They're broadcasting footage from Vietnam into the 6 o'clock evening news at night. It's not a happy time for most of America. The economy is not doing well. And I'd say that he just came up with the idea for the chainsaw movie. The chainsaw in the movie, he was actually in a hardware store, and there was this huge line, and he was just buying something else, and he's like, what I would do just to get through this line. And he looked at me, saw a chainsaw, and said, oh, wow, what? That is a great idea to make for a killer's weapon. You could just go through everybody.
And even have you ever been to a spooky world or type of thing? Or, I feel like that's become a staple of every haunted house you go to is always a chainsaw. Like this is just, the sound of it and that chasing you and just the
it's part of horror culture now. A buzz of a chainsaw, when you hear it, because of this movie and its subsequent sequels, you think of a maniac carrying a chainsaw just as much as you think of a person cutting down a tree.
For sure, yeah.
And in this film, the sound of the sound is huge in this film.
Sound.
Yeah.
All right, and that was something I wrote down too, is I feel like there isn't a lot of music per se, but there's a lot of percussion. There's a lot of cymbals and it's like beats and stuff like that. And then, which, and again, the way they use it, it's like, it's creepy. It's like very effective.
Right. Once the movie gets to its real climax and like it's basically all you're doing is hearing Sally scream, the chainsaw buzz, the members of the family yelling at each other. It's constant noise meant to get you off your game and meant to just completely stifle you and put you on the edge of your seat. That was by design because as far as the violence goes, they didn't actually put in a lot of true graphic violence like we would consider it today.
Right.
Most of it is not seen. Most of it's implied.
Yeah.
And so what they get you in is sort of like the sound, the performances, the art direction, the house itself, all of the nonsense that's going on inside the house.
It's a lot of nonsense.
Just you've got bones hanging everywhere. You've got
in the beginning they talk about like art pieces and like they describe them as art pieces that they found in a cemetery. Desecrating bodies and stuff like that. And then once you go to the house, it's like nonstop. Okay, this is the chicken room, I guess. Like I don't know. Like this is an art installation.
Feathers all over the floor.
Exactly. You're like, oh, okay.
There's a couch made out of bones.
Can't hang out here because we've got this art piece going on. So I don't know. So
everyone in the family is basically touched in some way. There's no like sane member of the family. The Sawyer family. We end up with Drayton Sawyer, who's sort of like the leader of the family at that point. Leatherface is his younger brother. Then there was the hitchhiker that they met at the beginning of the movie, who we knew something was wrong with him right off the bat.
Sure.
The hitchhiker, also known as Nubbin Sawyer, that's a name he got in the sequel. And then there's Grandpa. Grandpa Sawyer, who, despite the fact that he is 124 years old or 29 years old.
Is that something we find out in a later movie or something?
His birth date was like 1849, so that means he's like 124 years old, but alive.
Yeah.
And somehow staying alive by living on blood. The actor who played Grandpa Sawyer was John Dugan, and he was 20 years old at the time. So he is still alive and has played the role in some of the sequels as well.
Okay.
As recently as the 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D, he was Grandpa Sawyer.
That's cool.
Again.
All right. So let's talk about the way this movie starts off. So at the very beginning of the movie, it kind of starts off with a text and like telling about what you're about to see. And why?
So the point of the movie point of doing that in the film is to make it seem like what you're seeing, what you're going to watch is real. They told you that it's based on a true story. Now it's loosely based on Ed Gein, but it's not factually based on an actual story. It's cinema verite, as they call it. It's almost like a documentary where we're showing a crime that happened in Texas, and this is the crime that happened, and we're going to show it to you.
Okay.
The prologue or the narration at the beginning, spoken by actor John Larroquette of Night Court fame. Funny story, he did not receive a salary for that. He was paid in marijuana.
Oh, good.
I guess that was
the
enough for him.
70s.
But he's also reprised that role as the narrator in subsequent films. But it makes you. It's one of those films that it kind of makes you feel like it could be happening because they set it up so that they set it up like it was a true story, like it's filmed almost like a documentary.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder. You see dead animals all over the place. You see bones. You're like.
A lot of it feels real.
It's not a huge stretch to see like, okay, maybe that, and I think pretty sure that's a dead armadillo or whatever right there. So maybe that could also be a real skull, or there's a lamp made out of a human face.
Again, with the art direction, it's like I don't know what is literally something that let's make this out of clay or whatever, and like, this is real bones. You know what I mean? I'm sure like the line of that, it was pretty gray.
They simply went out into the countryside and found like cattle heads and rotting animals, roadkill, and used it as part of the movie. And they were able to take a certain upholstery and make it look sort of like human skin.
Jeez.
So that's where you get all like the lamps and the leather face and everything like that. And it's very convincing. It's not fake, like looking like a lot of things at the time would. The movie is almost like a documentary in that respect. It's like this was happening, but
it's like a Blair Witch Project a few years beforehand. All right, so the thing about the opening is it almost made me feel hopeless for Sally, because I was like, I feel like I'm just watching like a snuff film. There's no way, because of the way it was worded, it makes it seem like Sally doesn't make it out. So I'm like, why do I, like when all this stuff happens and it's like, literally when it's screaming for so long, and I'm like, okay, I know how it ends. There's no way she's getting out. Like, why are you putting me through this? Because the way you opened it, it's a tragedy, or I forget how they worded it exactly, but it was something like, it made me feel like there's no way she gets out.
They narrate it so it's like, oh, this is one of the biggest crimes ever committed, and so you're thinking nobody's getting out of this alive, and there's 5 friends and 4 of them don't make it out alive, and
had they lived very, very long lives, they could not expected to see the kind of, the way they worded it. It was like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And Sally does survive, but goes through the ringer throughout the entire film. She jumps through at least 2 windows, I believe.
Yes,
including one from the 2nd floor. She is dirty and filthy by the end of the movie. They force her to feed Grandpa with her finger, with blood on her finger. Now that was not an effect. They cut her finger, and he sucked on her blood.
Oh gosh!
Because they thought the fake blood didn't look realistic enough, so they said,
"Sure,
Sally." They said, "Marilyn Burns, Marilyn, we're gonna cut your finger." Oh, okay.
Oh gosh.
Yep. And it's just by the end of the film, it's like it's like a futility. Like, how can she possibly escape? But then they put they give Grandpa the hammer, and he can't even hold it. And it's silly watching. It's almost comedic at that point, and she just runs away from that because they're not using any effort at all to keep her there, which is just part of the weirdness of that family.
So, all right. So it starts off, so it's a group of friends, and they're traveling in a van because, and first of all, vans rule. Shout out to vans. The fact that you could just like not even have seats in the back. The 1970s. You could just kind of just sit in the back. It doesn't matter. And they're going to check. Is the whole reason they're going there to check to see if their grandfather was desecrated?
So, Sally and Franklin, their brother and sister, their grandfather was buried in one of the cemeteries that was dug up. And so they went there specifically to check it out. And so they go there in their van and they pick up a hitchhiker. Mm-hmm. Not a great idea. Maybe back then it was pretty common, but this guy
looked a little creepy. Had some blood on his face.
Yeah, had something on his face. Liked to cut himself with his pocket knife. Took a picture of the group and then demanded money for it. And when they wouldn't pay, he tried to. I believe he attacks Franklin, the guy in the wheelchair, with a straight razor, and then they kick him out. So that's an ominous beginning to this movie because they get away from him, and unfortunately, they don't really get away from him because they end up back with that family again. But they stop at a gas station. The owner says, we don't have any gas. So we need gas, but we don't have any gas.
So was the plan to go visit their house anyways, or was that just kind of like...
I think they were going to visit the house, but it was like a decrepit old house. And then they went... They knew they needed to get gas, and then 2 of them went off to find the swimming hole that had dried up because it wasn't a swimming hole anymore.
Right.
They find the farmhouse, and they say, let's ask them for some gas.
Yeah.
And
as I like how, they're approaching it and you're like, you don't know what's going on. And, they stumble across, 4 or 5 cars that are like hidden by camouflage. And you're like, oh, these are probably previous victims.
Yeah.
That they're kind of just hiding their cars.
Right.
So it's like.
Big red flag there.
Creepy.
But so they go to visit, like I said, they looked for the swimming hole, couldn't find it. Found a gas-powered generator, and Kirk says, "Oh, hey, look, we can trade for gas.
Yep.
Let's get in this house. Let's talk to these people. They must be nice people. They've got a generator running." And Kirk just walks right through the door and just hello, hi, just need to get some gas. And as soon as he gets far into the house, this giant man in a leather mask comes out of the back and just grabs him and just smashes him over the head with a hammer.
Yep.
And it's not a graphic visual, but it's the sound that it's like.
And he's shaking on the floor,
it's like
and then it's like they have to actually finish the job. Yeah.
Right. And then Pam's like, "What's going on? Where are you? Let me go in now." And then she sees him. She tries to run away. Leatherface grabs her and just treats her like a piece of meat, basically, like cattle, because puts her right on a hook, on a meat hook. One of the scenes that even though they don't show it going into her body or anything like that, it's not graphic in that way. It's just the image of her being lifted and then put on the meat hook is one of the most brutal scenes you can. Probably one of the most brutal scenes up to that point in any horror movie.
Yeah.
Nowadays they just would throw all this blood everywhere and CGI it all, but back then it was just such an effective scene. Mm-hmm. And Sally and Franklin are by themselves, and then they go and try to find their friends, and Franklin gets it in the woods, and Sally's chased into the house, and all of the fun stuff that happens after that.
Yeah, rough. I liked, that Sally said everything means something, I guess. When asked about, whether they actually believe in, moon signs and all that sort of thing. So that's just kind of fun. The brother, he's a bit of a wet blanket. I mean, justifiably
Franklin
so.
is a tough character to like.
Yeah.
You have to feel for him because of the situation.
I mean, you got attacked by a guy in the van, cut your arm, but at the same time, it's like...
He gets progressively whinier as the movie goes along. And by the time that Sally and him are out searching, it's almost unbearable to listen to him because he's like, "Let me hold the flashlight. No, you go first. No, let me hold the flash." And it's like, please shut up, Franklin.
Yeah.
I guess Leatherface felt the same way because he didn't want to hear any more of Franklin at that point either.
All right, talk to me about how this was received. Talk to me about sequels and stuff like that. I was just looking on my PlayStation and I didn't even know that apparently
there's a game.
I discovered that just an hour ago, which is crazy. I don't think I would
2 years ago
want to play that. It doesn't seem fun, but maybe I will.
The film, it was not a huge hit immediately because it's one of those B-movie Saturday afternoon matinees. It wasn't, like The Godfather Part 2 or something like that. We're expecting a blockbuster here. They made a cheap exploitation film, and the only place that they could run it was on the matinees on the weekends in the Grindhouse theaters in New York and places like that. Now, it grew its reputation up from that, and it kept getting rerun over 8 years or so. It would always get promoted with full-page ads, and people would see, "Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is coming back to the theater.
Okay.
Let's go watch it again." As far as the critical reception, I would say mixed at best, which I feel like we say for a lot of these films, even though now they're all considered classics. But, so, it ranges from the LA Times calling it despicable, the Austin newspaper, or Harper's Magazine called it sadistic, extreme, and unimaginative. I don't know where they get unimaginative from. It's pretty darn imaginative.
Yeah,
but
pretty.
There were some good receipts, though. Roger Ebert actually liked the movie.
Wow.
Praised the acting and the technical aspects. He did rant on the violence because that's what people did back then. But
yeah.
he appreciated ultimately what the film meant. And the Cincinnati Enquirer said that Marilyn Burns' performance is one of the best of all time in a horror movie, and I agree with that. She is basically, effectively the first true final girl in a slasher type horror movie. I mean, other people go back to Psycho, but Sally is the first one to completely have to survive so many ridiculous things happening to her. Even worse than Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. Like, Jamie Lee gets attacked by Michael Myers a few times and such, but Sally is just tossed around the house.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how she's walking at the end. And I'm not sure she stays sane after in fact, going into some of the sequels, depending on what sequel you get into, she's either been put into a mental institution or has gone insane or something like that. As far as the franchise goes, you're saying there are 9 total Texas Chainsaw
9?
movies.
How?
Yes. Which is probably...
That's absurd.
Just, yeah, they made too many.
I can't imagine how you can keep going with that. I mean, it's so creepy, and it's like, I mean, I guess there's a lot to work with, but...
They went into a lot of different directions. Tobe Hooper made the second one in 1986.
Yeah.
Once he started actually getting money from the receipts of the original. He was like, you know what? I don't want to do the same thing. I'm going to make a comedy.
Oh, get out of here.
And that's what he did with Texas Chainsaw Part 2. In fact, the box,
like he tried to like Evil Dead with it almost, or?
In a way, yeah. If you look at the poster for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, it is an exact copy of The Breakfast Club, just with Leatherface and Grandpa and the other characters standing in for the real characters. So it was...
The original Scary Movie.
Yeah, it was marketed as a dark comedy too, and it has probably more graphic violence in it. Like, it has actual, like, the chainsaw is like really like going through people and everything like that. And, but it was not as successful. Obviously, he went into a direction that might have been too far in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But that was the end of Tobe Hooper's involvement with Texas Chainsaw. A bunch of other hack directors would come out and make. There was a Part 3 that came out in 1990 that was just a bore. It did have some graphic violence in it, but it's a tough to sit through the whole thing.
Yeah.
An early role for Viggo Mortensen, by the way.
Cool. Okay.
He plays one of the. It's the funny thing that each sequel that comes out, there's all these new family members that we didn't see in any of the other ones.
Right.
Like, where was he during that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Viggo's the new family member that was apparently there the whole time, but Texas Chainsaw.
He's off getting gas or something.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. The Next Generation, actual name.
That's the actual name.
Well, that was its original name was Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that came out in 1995 and stars Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger before they were famous.
What?
Matthew McConaughey plays another member of the Sawyer family.
No.
Who he has like a weird bionic leg. And this movie goes in strange directions. It's very 90s. There's a strange point at the end of the movie where like this guy comes out of a limousine and goes into the house where all the hostages are, and he's just like part of the Illuminati.
Sure.
Of
course.
He's part of some secret society, and who's like paying that family to like torture people.
Sure.
And it's like, what? Yeah. That was never part of any of this. But
I mean, everything means something. It's,
that was it for the original series. They remade the film. Michael Bay remade the film in 2003, and I actually think it's a pretty decent remake.
Okay.
I actually thought it was pretty good. But then they made a prequel to that, which was awful. So then, nothing for a little while. And then 2013, they do Texas Chainsaw 3D, which ignores all of the previous movies except for the first one.
Okay.
Negative reviews and really strange continuity errors. It takes place in 2013, and the main character is a baby that was alive during the first movie.
Sure.
But she's only in her 20s.
Sure.
But it was like 40 years later.
Fine.
So they didn't even bother to like...
Did you watch it in theaters in 3D?
No.
Come on.
No. And then they made a prequel, another prequel to called Leatherface, about Leatherface's origins as a younger person in a mental hospital. Finally, the last one they made was the Netflix one that came out in 2022, and it was bad.
It was okay.
It was yet another direct sequel that ignores previous events, including the last one that ignored previous events.
Okay.
But it was a very Netflix-like experience.
Okay.
It's about a bunch of like influencers that go to the town and like try to sell off like pieces of the town, but Leatherface is like, I don't want you to sell off my town, so he just kills everybody. But you know, he'd be so old at that point. I don't understand why he was like.
It's fine. He's supernatural.
Right, yeah.
Lives forever, whatever. Doesn't matter.
But that's,
well, I mean, if the grandpa lives to be 130.
Yeah, the grandpa.
You know, he's probably
grandpa
still spry.
is still alive in part 2
Yeah.
as well. So that's another 13 years later.
Yeah.
So he lives to the ripe old age of like 130 something.
Jeez, delightful. This movie was good. I liked it. It was tough. It was hard to watch. It was. Yeah, I liked it. It's very gritty. It's crazy.
It's grimy. It's gritty. It makes you feel dirty when you watch it.
It does.
The lack of real explicit violence forces you to use your imagination to fill in the blanks.
And that's much more effective.
That's more effective than just throwing blood everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a very complete sensory experience.
Yeah.
It moves at a fever pitch towards the end. It's just chainsaw buzz, Sally screaming, Drayton Sawyer yelling at the tuber, just yelling and saying, "You do this wrong," and it doesn't let up. It does not let up, until the final shot. It doesn't let up because the final shot is Leatherface with the chainsaw,
just dancing around. Yep, just
right.
Well, if that's the final shot, then is there anything else you'd like to say before we do our final shot?
Not a whole lot. We've got through mostly everything. I would say that I did sort of mention it already, but this was sort of a movie about the death of the American experience. The 20th century, like the 50s and 60s when things were going good economically in that area. This is the 70s now where everything is crumbling. Gas stations don't have gas. The graveyards are being defiled. The cattle are all dead. The farmhouses are in disrepair. It's sort of like just the underbelly of America at that time.
Yeah.
So, and there's really no legitimacy of authority in the United States at that time because Richard Nixon had just resigned. No more trust in the government. Vietnam was still going on. No more trust in the government. It's just it completely tears down American institutions. And
you feel it on screen.
And you end up with a family that becomes a psychotic cannibals.
Well, with that, let's go get some dinner. No. Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Stuff That Screams Are Made Of. Check out our website. Maybe we'll put a link here. Maybe we'll put a link at the end. Who knows? Maybe I'll tell Gary the link and he'll type it up. Doesn't matter. Join us at the library on the second Tuesday of the month, right?
Yep, next one will be June 9th. We'll be talking about the classic Night of the Living Dead.
Nice. That's a good one. Cool. Okay.
Yes, little less extreme than this one. So.
But still, yeah, still makes
still
your
good
skin
though.
crawl. Yeah, very good. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for watching The Stuff That Screams Are Made Of. My name is Steve.
I'm Mark.
And sayonara.